Talking about I'm on fire watch.
Right. Tabernacles before.
Pre-game Tabernacles.
Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. What's going on to Yasha Allah? This is your brother Mahar, and we are ready for another Warzone Wednesday. How y'all fellas feeling today? Y'all ready for another one?
Calm.
All praises, calm.
Kwame Yashala.
Right.
I just put these headphones in. Y'all still hear static?
Yeah, no, you good. You sound good. You already know I'm your brother Mahar. If you brothers want to go around, introduce yourselves like always, by all means.
Yasharala, all praise to the Most High Father Yahweh by Shem Mashiach Yahweh Shah.
Hey, Shalom Israel, it's your brother Shalak, Kwam Yasharala.
Hey, Shalom Israel. It's your brother Aniel.
Hey, shalom, shalom to the nation of Israel. This your brother Yashawan ban Yahweh.
Hey, Shalom. Peace and blessings to the nation of Israel. This is your brother Shabbat. Kwame Yashala.
And, as always, first and foremost, we want to give all praise, honor, and glory to our Heavenly Father. We say, Call Halal, Abanawa Yahweh, by Hashem Yahweh Shai. All right, that's all blessings to our Heavenly Father in the name of His only begotten Son, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. So, man, a lot of stuff happening. What y'all think about these hurricanes? Back to back.
Yo, Florida getting hit right now. Crazy.
Here in Florida, to the worst
Yeah.
in over 100 years.
Florida's getting smacked up right now. Hey, but not only Florida, the rest of this country, the rest of the country is getting smacked up too. I'm sure there's stuff going on in Louisiana because they get the debris from Florida. But this Hurricane Milton is something crazy. And the one before that, hey, it tore up Asheville. It tore up what else did it tore up? It tore up some of Florida also. What you say, Gad?
Yeah, Eastern Tennessee, Georgia, South Carolina.
They shut down like that whole Eastern Tennessee, Western North Carolina. Like they cut that I-40. They completely cut it off.
Yeah, it washed out 40 away, bro.
It's crazy when you look at the before and the afters. Yeah, that's nuts. But we're back, and we are gonna go into some deep topics today. I don't want to, waste too much time going into miscellaneous things. I do want to show you, however, one or two quick videos before we start, which are pretty crazy. Let's check this one out.
It's very unusual for
if y'all could hear that.
For a storm to come in from the west like this and make landfall on the west coast of Florida.
This is historic, right? This is a history-making giant hurricane that is going across the entirety of the state, the central part of the state of Florida, from west coast to east coast.
You know what's crazy is that the only thing that we see is the stuff that happens in the U.S. Right now, this storm originated around Mexico, so I could imagine what's going on in Mexico.
There's huge wedge.
Where you go?
Oh my God.
That's near Lake Okeechobee. These are the kinds of tornadoes that you see here in Texas and Oklahoma, not in South Florida. And we've got some more pictures as well.
Across the highway there, you see it. Many Floridians say they've never seen anything like this storm.
We've had at least 2 of these hurricanes produce one EF3 tornado, which is unheard of, has not happened before.
God. See it? Oh, yeah, look at that. Oh, yeah. That's wicked. First time I've seen one in a long time since it's been out of Colorado.
Forecasters say the intensity of Milton is like nothing Floridians have ever seen before.
They're talking possible 15-foot storm surge. None of us in 100 years have seen anything like this. It is shocking.
That's a confirmed tornado on the ground right there. You can see, wow, huge, impressive.
Huge.
And you can see the debris just spinning there. It's on the ground. You can see that clearly on camera.
It's going to be a wild afternoon, everybody.
Oh yeah, it is. It's very active. And
Look at that. Look at that column. Wow.
Come right here. You can see it going through the cane field.
So the lower that number goes, the faster the air is rising up, the more the storm is working like a machine. This pressure it's been with and close to this has put it in the top 5 strongest storms in history.
Oh, make that make sense. The top 5 strongest storms in history. You know, but all of these calamities and all of these quote unquote natural disasters are what's supposed to happen, right? Let's bring out the classic real quick. Let's bring out that Matthew 24. Let's bring out that Matthew 24 and start at verse 7, because we're gonna keep nailing this home, right? There's still too many people that are asleep, right? And one of our jobs as watchmen is to wake up the lost sheep, right? Nobody else is going to understand why these things are happening, right? But there's a reason why these things are happening. Bring it out. Who got it?
Khan, I got you out. Matthew 24:7. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom.
And of course, we see that. You know, we have everybody going to war. We have Russia, Ukraine. We have Israel and everybody else. We have who else? We have Sudan is at war, right? Like there's so many countries around the world that are going to war, right? And that's because of the prophecy that Yahweh Shai said to the prophets, right? That was going to happen in the last days, and we are living in those last days. Keep going.
And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places.
Mm-hmm.
All these are the beginning of sorrows.
That's good right there. All these are the beginnings of sorrows, right? So, Yasharallah, right? It's time to belt down the hatch, so to speak, right? Lift up your loin, gird up your loins, and you know, we need to really hit hard on this spiritual journey, right? That the Most High has us going through. You know, there's a reason why He has revealed the truth to us, right? He said He wasn't going to be revealing this to everybody, right? But He shows His servants all these prophecies. He shows His servants all of the. He has us taking note to everything that's going on, right? Like true watchmen, right? And this is by the Lord's doing. But let's go into one thing, because today we're going to be covering the law. And one thing we need to do when we cover the law is actually look at the law, right? It's like the Bible. You know, a lot of our people don't like picking up the Bible, right, and reading their book. But let's look at something, and I found something really interesting yesterday. This right here, I'm going to explain it later, but this is called the U.S. Code, right? And we're going to be in Title 15. Can all y'all see that? I'm not even sure.
Con.
Okay. So we're going to be in Title 15, and we're going to keep scrolling all the way down to number 9 and 9A. What does that say right there? Shalak, what does that say?
Shalakia. Con. It says, Chapter 9A, weather modification activities or attempts reported.
No, that's good right there. Weather modification activities or attempts. Let's click on this and let's see what it says. All right. Actually, let's go to. Let's look at this National Weather Service right here. Where is it at? One second. Matter of fact, you know what? 3:30. Okay, so what's the next one? Okay, right here. Let's see, reporting requirements. Now, I want y'all to look at this for a second, right? This says, this is the report requirement, okay? This is a law that's in the United States. It's a report requirement of information in time of submission. It says no person may engage or attempt to engage in any weather modification activity in the United States unless he submits to the secretary such reports, right? Now let's look down here. At the bottom of every law, it usually tells you when it was created. This law was created December 18th of 1971. These people have been playing with the weather for a very long time, right? This wicked nation that we are in servitude to has been doing wicked things for a very long time, right? Everybody likes talking about the HAARP machine. You know, everybody likes talking about, you know, different aspects of them cloud seeding and all of that good stuff. They've been doing this for a long time. This is new to us, but it's not new to them, right? But this is, we're talking about the devil here, right? Why would you need to, and I want to bring this up also, right here is one of my search results from their AI, right? It says the Weather Modification Reporting Act of 1972, right, requires that anyone who conducts weather modification activities, okay? Weather modification activities are seeding, that's cloud seeding, or dispersing substances into the cloud or fog, right? That's talking about all the, I don't know if anybody has ever, I'm sure everybody has seen it by now, but you see the airplanes that shoot across the sky multiple times with a white cloud coming out the back. What they're doing is they're doing what's called cloud seeding, right? They're dispersing their substance into the clouds, right? They're altering the development of hail or lightning.
Hey, so
what you got?
Salakia, don't they call it the the chemtrails?
Yeah, chemtrails, right? That's what they call it,
Yeah.
chemtrails. Absolutely. And what they're doing is they're shooting, you know, they're shooting all these different chemicals like aluminum and and some other oxides that they send in there. And what it does is it like it says here, it influences, it ain't natural, it influences the development cycle of clouds, right? A few years back, Saudi Arabia did it. And Saudi Arabia ended up doing it a little too much and ended up flooding their nation.
Khan, I heard about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, matter of fact, let me see if I can pull that up real quick. Saudi Arabia. And, you know, they tried to introduce it as something, you know, something unheard of. But look.
I worked for Donald Trump. Trump was my boss.
Man.
And what anyone who worked for him learned is we cannot.
All these commercials.
Parts of the United Arab Emirates were overwhelmed with the heaviest rain ever recorded there. Areas are still flooded days later. Some reports blamed a method of making rain called cloud seeding.
Hey, shalom to the priest, shalom. We have a special guest in the crowd, shalom.
The rains began late Monday. 24 hours later, more than 100.
And this is in Dubai. This is in Saudi Arabia, right? This is their cloud seeding that they were doing.
42 millimeters had fallen. That's 50% more than the annual average.
It was absolutely horrendous. It's the worst I've ever seen it in Dubai. And we've seen some bad storms in the past, but this was like nothing else.
The United Arab Emirates has, in recent years, explored using cloud seeding to make rain. It's called cloud seeding because planes, drones, or rockets seed clouds with substances like silver iodide. The iodide attracts water molecules, which build up. When they get heavy enough, they fall, as rain or snow, depending on the temperature. Drones can also electrically charge clouds with lasers. Many countries, including Canada, use it to increase precipitation, maybe to fight wildfires or drought, or to reduce damaging hail. But despite being invented more than 80 years ago, it's hard to track if cloud seeding helps.
The challenge is partly because.
And look, we've been saying, you know, a lot of people have been saying this for years, right? But of course, they always call these people crazy, right? They call them conspiracy theorists, right? Unless you hear it from Esau, nobody wants to believe it, right? Until the devil shows you who he is, that's when you want to believe it. And even then, people still don't believe it, right? People, our people especially, try so hard to save this goddamn devil, right? But he is truly the devil that the Bible speaks about. And that's who we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about this devil. And we're going to be talking about his different devices that he uses in order to keep our people in servitude and ignorant, right? Let me pull this up real quick. All right. And you know me, I got to pull out the slideshows. So, you know, again, Weather Modification Reporting Act, this is something that's been in the works already. And it's, you know, it's just now coming to light because of all this stuff that's going on, right? And I'm sure Milton, I'm sure the Hurricane Helene that was before that, I'm sure that they are all a part of all this weather modification that's going on, right? But you know, again, welcome to Warzone Wednesday, right? We're going into part 5 of exposing this wicked nation, right? We're going over the law section of this class or of this series, right? Shalom to the captain, shalom. Let's do a quick recap of the last class. If you remember the last class, we were doing it on banking and money, right? And we were talking about the history of banking, when it started, where it started, how many different empires in the past have dealt with it, right? The Akkadian Empire, the Sumerian Empire, right? Babylonian Empire, all of the past empires, Egypt, they've all dealt with a certain type of banking or money. Right? Talked about the history of the money and the bartering system. Right? They were using both systems at the same time. We were talking about the different types of banks and their functions and what we use them for. Right? We also talked about who owns the bank. Right? We talked about those non-special people who own the bank. Right? The issues of the world. Right? We talked about the Federal Reserve, right? And what the Federal Reserve is. But along with that Federal Reserve, we also talked about the gold standard, right? We tried to, and I tried to break down the dollar bill and the different insignia on the dollar bill and the different, the different little secrets of the dollar bill. And actually, I wanted to bring on a video the last time of the different ways, if you fold the dollar bill, the different things that come up. I don't know if y'all brothers heard about that. Have y'all heard about that yet?
Con, yeah, been doing that since like middle school.
Mm-hmm.
But like the $20 bills, like the Twin Towers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Right, and on each bill, depending which one it is, you'll find a different aspect of 9/11, right? And the different stages of its destruction.
Right, Con.
Mm-hmm. So again, we're going to go into exposing Babylon, right? Let's see what we got here. All right. This was the chart that that the Lord put on my spirit to try to break down each level, right? We start at the top, the capitalistic society that we deal with. Then we went down to the elites, right? Then we started talking about religion. Then we did another class on politics, right? Then we did the banking and the money, right? And this week we're going to be doing the laws. We're going to be talking about the laws and doing some more expulsion of this wicked world, right? This military part, I think I'm going to remove, only because we kind of know what the military does, right? This country points in a direction and the military destroys whatever they point at. So, I think the military is kind of cut and dry. So I'm probably going to remove it, just, an FYI. Then we're going to go into the celebrity branch. This one should be a fun class. And then we're going to talk about the slaves and the captivity, right? We're going to talk about us. All right, but before we start that, we want to start with some scripture. Shalak, can you grab me Luke 11? We're going to do 46, and then we're going to jump to 52, Baba Shah.
Con.
And all this is if you want to read it off the screen, you could.
Okay, Con. I didn't know if you was ready for it.
Yeah. Bring it out. Because this is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about the laws and the lawyers and all the, the issues that have guided all of this law stuff. Right. Go ahead, bring it out.
Con. Luke 11 and 46. And he said, "Woe unto you also, ye lawyers, for ye laid men with burdens grievous to be borne."
Right, and that's what Slack it real quick, and the burdens that are laden to our people, right? They give everybody these burdens of the law, right? But it affects our people the most. Why? Because the Most High has sent these devils against us, right? And this is one of the punishments that we have to deal with. We have to listen to another nation, right? We have to follow another nation's laws. So keep going, King.
Con. And ye yourselves touch not the burdens with one of your fingers.
You ain't gonna catch them doing anything that we do, right? Keep going.
Jumping, you want me to go straight down to 52?
Yeah, verse 52.
Con. Verse 52. Woe unto you, lawyers.
Destruction to you, lawyers, right? This kind of matches up with that Jeremiah as well, right? Where it says, woe unto you, pastors. You know, because the pastors, they spread the flock in all different directions, right? With their bogus teachings, with their bogus preachings, right? But also the lawyers as well. And you'll see throughout this lesson that I want to say 97% of everything that goes on in this world is, besides it being caused by Esau, is also caused by the lawyers or the issues of this world. Right? Keep going.
For ye have taken away the key of knowledge. Ye enter not in yourselves, and them that were entering in ye hindered.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I want to touch on real quick, and this is about this country, right? Before I got into this truth, the Lord had me on a different path, right? The Lord had me on a law, like literally going through the law. I must have spent maybe 2 or 3 years just studying nothing but the law, right? And the things that I found out and the things that were impressed on me were ridiculous. And the crazy thing is, and I, I know myself, I think that if the Most High had not shown me this law first, then I wouldn't have been able to understand his law later on, right? He sort of exposed this world to me, right? And then he exposed his world to me as well, right? And we all know that the Most High's world is the world that matters, right? The Most High's world is the world of our salvation, if that makes sense. Right? But these are one of the quotes that I actually found through the law. Right? It says, Benjamin Franklin's response to Elizabeth Willing Powell's question. She asked him, well, doctor, what have we got, a republic or a monarchy? Now, if you remember, two lessons back, we went on to different governments and the different structures that governments use, right? This is sort of like a sister lesson to that lesson, right? And we went over republics, we went over monarchies, right? Oligarchies, if you guys remember. But she asked him this question, and this is his answer: a republic, if you can keep it. All right. Now let that sink in for a second. This is a man that's on, what is he on, the $100 bill?
Con.
Right. So, he must have done something great in order to be, stuck on a $100 bill, right? But he was being honest about this, right? This country is so corrupt, even its own people are telling on it, right? But we're gonna go into the history of law, right? At first, the oldest codified law can be traced back to Mesopotamia around 2400 BC. Right? This would be, if I remember correctly, this would be the Sumerian. It's either the Akkadian or the Sumerian dynasty. I got to look it up one more time. But the earliest text that they had was the Code of Urugakina. Right? This is the earliest legal text that was found back then. Right? And that's what it looks like. That's a little snapshot of what it looks like. Okay. Then we had the Code of Ur-Nammu, which were clay tablets, also found later on. Right? There's a picture of them right there. Now, all of these pictures that you're going to see, all of these places are in the Louvre. I believe that's in France, if I remember correctly. The Code of Hammurabi, we went over that also. That was established around 1750 BC. That was actually during the Babylonian captivity. Okay. And the USA have received their laws from the King of England, right? The King John of England, I believe, was back around 1150 AD, right? from this joker right here. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the government structure. Okay. I know a lot of people hear the government, and not many people go into what a government consists of. Right. We got three branches. You have the legislative, you have the executive, and you have the judicial branch. Okay, three different branches with three separate jobs. Okay, the legislative branch is the branch of Congress, and they're made up, of course, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The number one responsibility for the legislative branch is to make laws. Okay, Congress and the House of Representatives, they are the ones that create and pass laws. Congress propose a new law, right? And they got to go through the House, and through the House, after the House, it goes to the Senate. After the Senate, it goes up to the president to get signed into law, right? They also, and I didn't know this, they are the section that declares war, right? They confirm the presidential appointment. They either confirm it, or if they don't like them, they can reject it and do someone else. They confirm the judges in the country. They're the ones that put the Clarence Thomases in their place, right? They put who else? Ruth, the one that died recently. Ruth, that old Edomite-ish. Ginsburg, I forget what her name is, but she croaked a couple of years ago, and they replaced her with somebody else. They also have a controlling interest in the way that the tax flow works in this country. Okay, then you have the executive branch. The executive branch consists of, like you see on the screen, it consists of the president, right, the vice president, and their cabinet of workers, so to speak, right? Their departments and agencies. They're responsible for enforcing any law that comes to the land, right? So it goes, the legislative make it, the executive, put it in the books, and then the judicial branch are the ones that interpret the law and they follow through, right? In the judicial section, this is where you're going to find your Supreme Courts, your federal courts, your circuit courts, the magistrate courts, and your municipal courts, right? They are the ones that apply the law, right? If you wanted to sue somebody, you would be doing it through the judicial branch of the government. Okay, all of these branches, each one of them is established through the Constitution. Okay, let's see. What is the law? Right, the law is binding customs and or practices of a government or a community. Right, it's a form of control by the established government. Right, it's to keep all the people in line, and if you don't stay in line, what do? They send their cronies after you. Right, it's upheld by the courts and enforced by the authorities or their police. Okay, the government has many different laws, and you're going to see right now, and it's all different ways to govern their slaves, essentially. Okay, let's see. The USA and its many laws, right? First, we have the Constitution. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land, right? It was adopted in March of 1789. It replaced a different law before that called the Articles of Confederation. This is the country's first constitution, right? The Constitution is made up of an introduction or a preamble. It's made up of 7 articles and 27 amendments after the articles, right? And the first 10 amendments that it has are known to us as the Bill of Rights, right? The next one we have is the Code of Federal Regulation, right? It's a publication that contains the official rules and regulations of the government, right? The Code of Federal Regulations is divided into 50 different titles, right? Each title has a different topic, right? Like, let's see, one could be talking about how the president acts. Let me see, I'll pull up see if I can pull up. Let me pull it up real quick just to show. This is just a quick shot. Now, all of these laws and everything that I'm about to show you, you can find them. They're very easy to find. Like this one right here. This is the Legal Information Institute. This is law.cornell.edu. It's real easy to find. This is essentially brought about by one of the most prestigious law schools in this nation. Okay. But as you can see, the way the law is broken down, it's broken down into different titles, right? You got the president, you have accounts, administrative personnel, right? Domestic security, you have a title on energy, right? Federal elections, banks, bank and banking, right? Aeronautics, commerce, right? You get the points. Things, the rules of the highways, right? Food and drug, you'll find your Food and Drug Administration in there. Money and finance, the treasury, right? You'll find the education department in here as well, right? The postal service. You'll find out about public contracts and property management, right? The public welfare system, shipping, telecommunications. Like there's a lot of things in these different titles that'll blow your mind if people ever read it. Let's go back to. Okay, we were on the Code of Federal Regulations, right? So it's broken up, like I said. The next one that the United States has is the United States Code. Okay, this also is a selection of laws similar to the federal regulations, except this right here is for the government, and it's also statutes for the states as well to follow. Right? It's an official codification of the general and permanent federal statutes, right? These are statutes that aren't going to change of this country, right? This itself contains 53 titles. It's similar to the CFR that I just showed you, except instead of 50, it's 53. Okay. This as well is also used to, to set forth the laws and the statutes of this land. Okay. The next one, and I want to say the most dangerous of them all, okay, is this one right here. This one's called the UCC, or the Uniform Commercial Code. We're going to break this one down a little bit later on, but this right here, I want to say that this trumps almost everything else, and I'll explain how. But this one is a set of laws that govern commercial transactions in this country. Okay. And then they have, other one, they have another one, it's called a CFR. Wait, no, I'm Salaki, I did the CFR. It's actually called the Federal Rules. And it actually has 5 sections. It's Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, of Criminal Procedure, of Evidence, of Bankruptcy, and of the Appellate Procedure, meaning appealing. If you go to court and someone's suing you or you're suing somebody else, there are rules in there so that you can, if you don't like the outcome of the case, then you can appeal your case, right, and continue to push it. And then on top of that, we also have the state laws, right? Each of the states are supposed to, now listen to what I'm saying, they're supposed to take the rules that are given from the federal level and apply them in the state level. Now, I'm saying that because that doesn't always happen. As a matter of fact, you're going to see it never happens, right? They stay close to it, but they like to manipulate things, and I'll show you how they manipulate it. But I think the first one we're going to cover right now, we're going to cover the Constitution, right? You know, everybody hears about the Constitution, the Constitution, the Constitution, right? But what is it about the Constitution that's so special? Okay. You know, the Constitution itself, we go back to that. I'm going to go back to that page that I had before just to show you a little bit about the Constitution. Okay. Just to give you a look at what the Constitution looks like. Okay. All right. Can you see that?
Come.
So of course, just like I was saying before, the Constitution, right? They have the preamble, right? This is talking about we the people. You know, it's fluff. That's what it is. Article 1, right? Again, talks about all the different sections and the rules that are attached to the sections, right? You got Article 2 talking about the presidency. Article 3, the judiciary, right? Article 4, the states. Article 5, the amendment process. Article 6, legal status, ratification. And where we sort of fall into, or what we sort of kind of know most, right? And I know you can ask priests about this, right? Are the amendments, right? The First Amendment is supposed to be religion, speech. It was supposed to have the freedom of it. And when you click on it, click on the First Amendment, and it starts talking about, it guarantees the freedoms concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. Right? It forbids Congress from promoting one religion over the other. Like they can't promote Satanism over Christianity, stuff like that. Right? And it's supposed to guarantee the freedom of expression. Now, us being Israelites, right, and us going on those highways and hedges, do you really think that this First Amendment really does it really apply to us?
La.
Right. Like, you know, they make these rules, but then, you know, and you'll see they make ways around the rules, which is, it's just disgusting. But actually, I want to bring out a precept real quick because I want to show you who we're dealing with. Somebody grab me Genesis 3:1 real quick, Bakasha.
It's the book of Genesis, chapter 3, verse 1.
Come on, bring it up.
And it reads, "Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field, which the Lord the Most High had made."
Salaki, that's good. So this serpent, right? He's more subtle than any beast of the field that Yahweh has made, right? And I think going through these laws, it'll make it click, and you'll understand how this bastard is the most subtle beast in this world, right? You know, he has that spirit of Satan, right? You know, he likes to slither through, right? I know, Yahshua, you know, one of your favorite precepts is talking about, you know, when the wicked is born. Let's pull that one up too. Let's pull that one up too. Psalms.
talking about that 58 and 3.
Con. Yeah, let's pull that up real quick because this is talking about Esau. Right? Bring that out for me, Big Gad.
The book of Psalms, chapter 58, verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies.
Right, speaking lies. And again, like I said, I'm gonna try to prove to you that yes, this person is that bastard that is born speaking lies. Right. Let's go back to it. Let's see how he speaks lies. Right. We're gonna go back to that Constitution and we're gonna start talking about it. One of the first articles, right, straight from the top, right? The first article of the Constitution, right? This is going to be section 2. And it says, the representatives and direct taxes shall be apportioned among the several states, which may be included within this union, according to their respective numbers, which shall be determined by adding to the whole number of free persons, right? When this was made, who was the only free person around?
Damn devil.
There you go. The damn devil was the only free person that was around. And who were the people that were in bondage?
That was us.
Right. So, you know, a lot of our brothers and sisters, you know, they go to the 13th Amendment, which is perfectly fine. But we need to go to the first article, the first chapter. It's like the Genesis of the Constitution, right? Including those bound to service for a term of years. That's talking about slaves because they're obviously bound. And excluding Indians not taxed. So everybody else, including our people, right, the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native American man, woman, and child, are 3/5 of all other persons, right? That is very similar to what's being said in the Salakia, in the 14th Amendment. Is it the 14th Amendment? Where am I at? We'll get to it. Anyway, in the beginning, right, it already marks us as 3/5 of a person, right? That's strike one from this devil. Okay, let's check it out. Article 1 in the same section, but we're going to go to section 9. Okay, it says the migration or importation of such persons as any of the states now existing shall think proper to admit shall not be prohibited. So you're importing people. Who are the people that they are importing, right? It's talking about slaves here, right? But they made a law specifically saying that you can't prohibit them from importing these people, importing as many as they want, right? It says shall not be prohibited by the Congress prior to the year 1808, but a tax or duty may be imposed on such importation, slavery, not exceeding $10 for each person. All right. So $10 back then would probably be 25 cents, 50 cents right now. Right? So they're saying in this one little section that there's no limit on how many people you can bring in, right? And for each person that you bring in, you're going to get charged $10 for each person, or current time 25 cents per person. That's pretty crazy. Only from a devil. Okay, we're going to go to Article 2. This talks about the presidency, right? All you have to be is 35 and a citizen to be the president of the United States. But now here's a catch right here. It says the president, vice president, and all civil officers of the United States shall be removed from office on impeachment for and conviction of treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. We've had 2 presidents that have been impeached. We've had multiple presidents caught in high crimes, bribery, treason, and misdemeanors, right? Look at Richard Nixon, right? You got Bill Clinton. Look at Donald Trump, right? Look at the current president, Joe Biden, right? Not a lot of people are talking about, right? It was before Trump came into office, they were all pointing the finger at Trump, telling him that he was doing what? Colluding with Russia. When in fact, we find out later on that the ones that were pointing the fingers, were the people that were colluding with Russia, so to speak, right? That's beside the point. Article 4 talks about full faith and credit to public acts, right? It says that citizens are entitled to all privilege and immunity, right? It also talks about that the U.S. will guarantee protection against invasion. Last time I checked, and like they have no borders right now. They're letting anybody and anything come into this country, right? They said that they were going to protect against invasion. Last time I checked, that kind of sounds like an invasion. I don't care. These are our people. Well, most of them are our people anyway. From south of the border, right? Most of them are people coming from Haiti, right? People coming from Mexico, right? People coming from South America, Central America. These are all our people, right? And they're all flooding into this country. But they're not upholding one simple law that they have, or one simple promise that they promised to the American people, and that was to protect against invasion. All right, let's keep going. The Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuant thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land, and the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Okay? So the judges of this country are supposed to be bound, right? They all take an oath of office. Every single judge that you see on that bench that slams that gavel down, that twirls it in their hand, right? They are bound, and they make an oath to this Constitution that this country has made, right? Now, just by judging from these last 2 articles that I read, they haven't been sticking to anything, right? All this stuff is still going on, right? We still got wicked people in office, right? We still got people coming across the border. They're not bound to anything, okay? Just more fluff pieces. What you got?
Hey, Salaki, I'm gonna bring out this quick preset real quick. Just going along with what you're saying, right? Because when you look at the history of the so-called white man, right? He really don't keep none of his his covenant or his laws, right? So this Psalm chapter 55 verse 20, it says, "He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant." Right. So even going back, to all the treaties and the covenants that they had with the indigenous people of this land, right? How many, and we went over this a few times, right? How many of those hundreds and hundreds of covenants, did they break, right? I mean, they didn't uphold not one of them covenants or them treaties that they had, right? It says the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, right? So they got all these, these laws and all these covenants set up, but they don't keep none of them, right? like you said, you got just look at what was going on with Donald Trump, right? How much trouble he been in the past 2 years,
A lot.
and he's still allowed to, to run for president again. That's crazy.
Hey, you're talking about 36 felonies, yo.
Right.
They trying to make him into a Jake.
And look though, this who they got running for president though.
Right.
You see that? What type of people is America trying to set up, to be the leader of the nation? Right?
Only the wickedest.
Right. But I'm gonna finish this verse. It says, the words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords. Right. So you can't believe, nothing that come out this devil mouth. He don't even uphold his own laws. You see that? So that go to show you, even in his spirit, it's not in his spirit, to uphold, his own laws. Right. So how he go uphold, the Most High commandments and the Most High laws? You see that? But that's all I had on that. Just going to show you that these people, they break their own laws that they set up.
God. And again, that goes back to the last two precepts that we brought up, right? They go astray, speaking lies as soon as they be born, right? They are subtle vipers. Right? You don't even keep your own house clean, if that makes sense. All right, but we're gonna keep pushing on with it. Now we're going to talk about some of the amendments, right? And I just wanted to choose just, certain ones that, I think our people would be able to appreciate the most. Right? One of our favorites, the First Amendment, right? Like I was saying earlier, it says that the First Amendment guarantees freedom concerning religion, expression, assembly, and the right to petition. We definitely don't have freedom, right? They already making laws to ban certain parts of the Bible. Pretty soon, they're going to be banning the Bible completely, and we're going to go through a true famine of the word. But nobody's ready for that, right? When that famine of that word hits, they're going to be looking for brothers on the street, right? They're going to be looking for the servants who they've been ignoring time in and time out, right? Back and forth, left and right. But they ain't gonna find us. What you got?
Hey, so I got a couple precepts I wanted to bring out on that. Let me get let me get there real quick. I wanted to bring out Amos 5:10 and Isaiah 5:20. Right, and we all familiar with these precepts, but this go along with that, what you bringing out for the amendments, right? So this the book of Amos chapter 5 verse 10. It says, they hate him that rebuketh in the gate, and they abhor him that speaketh uprightly. Right. So like you said, right, we don't get treated how everybody else get treated. Right. They pick and choose, when they want to use these laws that they set up. Right. Because look, out in California, in some cities in California, I thought America had laws where, you can't be in public, nude, what they call it, lewd. But now they're saying in some parts you can be nude in public, right? So when they had a gay pride month, they be having them old men and women, right, in public nude in front of little children, right? But we can't come out here and preach the Bible. Right, when we come out here and preach the Bible, they got all these laws where now you can't use a microphone, or now you can't be out on the street at a certain time. Right? Why don't they be bothering these I ain't even gonna say the word, but the people that's a part of the gay pride community.
Hey, that's a part of it though.
Right, you see that? Why don't they enforce these same type of laws on them? Right? And that's wickedness that they doing. But they don't want to say nothing about that. They let them come out freely. They have parades during that whole month, right? They get to do whatever they want. But we come out here and we preach the scriptures, right? We preach righteousness, and then all hell breaks loose. You see that? So let me bring this out, Isaiah 5:20. It says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil, that put darkness for light and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter, right? Because when all these other people that's in different religions, like Seventh-day Adventists, Jehovah Witness, whatever, them Christians, when they be out there on the streets, they don't get harassed by the police the same way we do. Right? If you go out there, you can go out there and teach as many lies as you want. You know why? They don't care about that, because, you know what I'm saying, that's not waking our people up. So they don't really care about that. Right? Go out there and preach that, you know, God love everybody and he gonna bring salvation to the whole world. Right? But when you go out there and teach the truth, when you go out there and expose, you know, America and the so-called Europeans for what they did, and you expose all their crimes and all their rape, robbery, and murder, and you tell the so-called, you know, black and Hispanic man that he a king on earth, then it's a problem. You see that? That just goes to show you the hypocrisy.
They don't want to hear it, right? They don't want to hear it, and even this, right? Even us doing stuff like this, they don't want to hear it, right? Even though we're trying to tell the truth, they don't want to hear it, right? I want to go over the Second Amendment, right? This is supposed to be a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. This also gives the right of the people, who are supposed to be the people of the United States, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed, right? Let's look at that word to keep. Obviously, to have, but what does it mean to bear? Bear means so many different things, right? Bearing the burden, right? Being able to bear your soul, being able to, you know, bear this word, right? We can't even bear our arms because they make laws to where you can't walk around with you know, with a pew pew, right? You can't walk around with anything like that. You have to have licenses. You have to have registrations. You have to have papers, right? Let me see your poppers. This is what this country does, right? Hitler was a cakewalk compared to what's going on now. But the problem is our people are so blinded. Our people are so naive to what's going on in this world, right? And this is in the Constitution, okay? This Fourth Amendment is a big one, right? The Fourth Amendment originally enforced the notion that each man's home is his castle, meaning that you're able to protect your home, right? Whether you're getting robbed, whether you're getting, you know, crimes being committed against you, right? You're supposed to be secure in your own home, right? But how many of our brothers and sisters get their doors broken down by the so-called Edomite, right? How many of our brothers and sisters get snatched up off their couches because of, you know, somebody making a false report against them, right? It says each man's home is his castle, secure from unreasonable searches and seizures of property by the government. It protects against arbitrary arrests and is the basis of the law regarding search warrants, stop and frisk, safety inspections, wiretaps, and other forms of surveillance, as well as being central to many other crime law topics and privacy law. So essentially what that said was that, you know, if they decide they want to stop you in the middle of the street and they want to search your pockets, I know this is what they do in New York, right? I don't think they do it around here. I haven't seen it yet, but you're supposed to be protected from that. But then we got to remember what that first article said of the Constitution that everybody else except for the free people was 3/5 of a human being. So does this really apply to us? Right? Can they just snatch us up off the street and start rummaging our pockets or searching our cars? Right? Or you know, I mean, we're walking around with a giant wiretap when we walk around with these cell phones, right? They hear all of our calls, right? They see all of our messages. All of this stuff is in their cloud, right? It's on their servers. All right, let's keep going. Let's keep going. The fifth. I'm sure we've heard brothers say, I plead the fifth. This is the fifth that they're talking about, right? No person shall be held to answer for a crime, for a capital or otherwise infamous crime, unless on a presentment. That word presentment, I want you to keep it in your minds because we're going to go over that word later. That word is very important, okay? Or indictment of a grand jury. See, most people are going to fall under the basis of presentments, right? I'm going to go over the language and everything in a few, but this presentment, keep that in the back of your mind. As a matter of fact, if you have a notebook, write it down in a notebook real quick. Except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or the militia when in actual service time of war or public danger, nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb. That's called double jeopardy, right? That's them trying to hem you up on the same charges that they just hemmed you up on. So like if they charge you for jaywalking, they can't charge you for jaywalking and then as soon as they let you out, bring you back in because you know, for the same crime. They can't do that. It's called protection against double jeopardy. Nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself. Okay? You can't testify against yourself. But this goes to, you know, like, for example, if, you know, someone got pulled over or if someone got, you know, stopped and frisked, right? Like, you don't have to say anything, right? You know, when in the Miranda rights, when they say you have a right to remain silent, this is the right to remain silent that they're talking about, right? You don't have to say a damn thing, right? Any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, okay? Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. That's like if they took your car and decided they wanted to use your car, they have to pay for that stuff. Okay, they can't do that. But that one part right there that's highlighted, deprived of life, liberty, or property, okay, without due process of the law. That's a big one also. Write that on your notebook. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a public trial without unnecessary delay, meaning they can't push your trial 2 years from now, right? They can't do all that stuff, right? Absolutely. Loopholes. They love loopholes. And you'll see, you know, a lot of loopholes that they have. These people are, oh my gosh, they are slippery. Hey, they're more slippery than Christians.
Hey, that's that crafty counsel, Art.
Big time. That's definitely that crafty counsel, right? Unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, okay? So an impartial jury doesn't mean that you have 10 Edomites on the stand to try your case. You know that's not gonna work out, right? But yet they do it anyway. And this other part also, write it in your book. And the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. This is a big one right here. This is definitely a big one because in all of our court cases, we don't know who our accuser is. And the court cases that I'm talking about are stuff like traffic court, right? Stuff like getting a ticket in the mail, right? And I'm going to go into that also. But this is one of the guarantees that you're supposed to have. You're supposed to know who your accuser is. Okay, keep that in mind also. What are we up to? Oh man, this one's the amendment I was actually talking about. Boom, right there. Okay. The 13th Amendment. Okay, this is a big one. This is another one that the majority of all of our people know about, yet don't understand. Okay, and I'm going to explain why. Neither slavery nor involuntary servitude. Okay, that means that they can't make you a slave, right? That means they can't force you to do involuntary servitude, except, here's one of those loopholes, except as a punishment for crime, whereof the party shall have been duly convicted, shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. So they can't make you a slave unless you do a crime, right? So what's the best way to subvert and slither around their amendment, right? Change everything into a crime, right? If you change everything into a crime, you're always going to have slavery and you're always going to have involuntary servitude, right? The majority of our people make up these prisons. What you got, King?
Salakia, but I was gonna say, Khan, just to add on to what you're talking about with, the vagrancy laws, where as soon as our people got off the plantation, they implement vagrancy laws. Oh, if you don't have a job, you get arrested. If you don't have a house, you get arrested. Well, brothers and sisters just got off the plantation. How are they gonna have a house?
Right.
How are they gonna have land? How are they gonna have these things that now you're making laws and saying, oh, if you're or like soliciting, these people have nowhere to go. Of course, they're just standing. Now, oh, if you're standing, that's a crime. Boom, you get taken right back to the plantation.
Mm-hmm. Hey, that's what they do with parolees, right? In order to put a prison inmate on parole, you have to have a house to go back to. If you don't have a house to go back to, you ain't going on parole. All right? That goes to the same thing what you were just talking about. All right? But now we need to know this question: who owns these private prisons? Right? If you go back to the first lesson I did, where I was talking about the elites, if you follow that trail, you'll be able to find out who is the people that own these prisons. Right? I just want to go real quick into prison rates. Okay? Imprisonment rates for a so-called black man is 5 times more than a white man. Right? A Hispanic and Native American is 4.2 times more than Esau, right? Sentencing rates, meaning, what kind of sentence are you going to get? Are you going to get a big sentence, a long sentence, many years, or are you going to get a short sentence? So-called black men, 13.4% longer than Esau, right? The so-called Hispanic or Native American gets 11.2% longer than Esau. But here's the crazy part. Hispanic women get 27.8% longer than a female Edomite. That's some crazy statistics right there. They definitely trying to turn them into some carpet munchers. Excuse my French. Yeah. So now we're going to try and get into the Uniform Commercial Code, or the UCC. right? We're just going to lightly touch on it right here, but you're going to see later on where this UCC falls into place, right? If you want to find out what a presentment is, this is the place where you go to find out what a presentment is. And I'm going to show you that. Of course, the UCC, right? I don't know if you can see right there on the book, but it shows all the different articles that the UCC has. Let's go to it real quick. Let's check it out. Give me 1 second. Put it up here on the screen. The Uniform Commercial Code. Here it is again. Okay. Again, just like the other ones, it's broken up into sections. Okay. Sales, leases, negotiable instruments. That's a big one. Bank deposits and collections, funds transferred, letters of credit, right? Documents of title, secured transactions. Yeah, this is man. That's all I'm gonna say. Man. Let's go back into it. Okay, so the UCC, right? It was first published in 1952. Okay, it was established to harmonize laws and commercial transactions. Okay, it was created by the ALI and the NCC USL. That stands for the American Law Institute, a bunch of lawyers, and the National Conference of Commissioners on Uniform State Laws. Okay. Again, keep a mental note about this. Right? Lock in and put this up. Keep a mental note about this. Let's see that. Boom. Okay. Let's go into the types of courts. Now, courts are divided into 12, I guess you can call them districts. Okay, 12 different districts. Right. This is all the federal districts for all the court system. It's talking about federal. It's talking about state courts. Right, courts of appeal, district courts, municipal courts, right? The court system, it's separated into two different types of system. We have the federal level of courts, and then we have the state level of courts. Obviously, the federal level deals with a lot more things, right? The federal level contains the Supreme Court, which is the highest court in the United States and the final level of appeal in the federal system. Okay, again, back to going to courts. Whenever you sue somebody, you're going to be going through the federal chain, so to speak, right? So you'll start at, the district courts, and then if you don't get what you want, then you take it higher, right? Take it higher to the courts of appeal. Right? And if you still don't find what you're looking for, then you keep going to the Supreme Court. Right? It's the highest court in the land. The circuit courts, right? First level appeal. We have 13 courts in total, district courts. The trial court level, which is the district court level, they have about 94 district courts in total. That's around the country. Okay. The district courts hear both civil and criminal cases, but they don't hear bankruptcy cases. That's for a reason. Right? And this is just a chart to show, what each one does, right, at each level. Okay. Now we're going to talk about federal law versus state law. Okay. The U.S., they have multiple levels of law, okay? And they can be completely confusing, right? The one thing that we're used to child support courts, and we're used to driving courts, right? Or traffic infraction courts, right? Getting a ticket, or, you know, something simple like that, right? But these are the different types of laws. You got federal laws, right? And their rules that apply throughout the United States, right? We're talking about anywhere from immigration, Social Security, anti-discrimination lawsuits, patent and copyright laws. Like, you'll see a lot of artists, like your big time artists, they usually go through federal court for, you know, suing another person, or record companies or record labels because they didn't get what they were supposed to get. You'll find that all in federal court. The state courts are at a lower level, right? They deal with the criminal matters. They deal with divorce, family matters, welfare, public assistance, Medicaid. They deal with inheritances in the states, right? They deal with real estate and other property. They deal with business contracts. They also deal with personal injuries and workers' compensation. Now, one thing between all of these is that the Constitution has what's called a supremacy clause, okay? And the supremacy clause establishes that anything that's federal beats anything that's state. Does that make sense? Okay. So, like an example, state law says marijuana is legal, right? But federal law says marijuana is not permitted. That's an example, right? Another example, if the federal law says the minimum wage is $20, then the state law says your minimum wage is $13.50. The state law is wrong, okay? If the state law says you cannot record an officer, right? Federal law says you can. We're going to go with the federal law, okay? If federal law says you have the right to protest anytime, right? But Glenwood Avenue says that you got to shut it down at 11 p.m., guess what we're going to listen to? The federal law, right? Because the federal law says that you can't be, they can't stop your right to assembly, right? Or your freedom of speech.
Salaki. So what's the point of state law, federal law?
That's a great question. That is a great question, and I'm going to explain that. So, you know, everything at the federal, like I said, everything at the federal level is supposed to be mirrored by the states, but it's not being mirrored, right? They're supposed to be like the measuring stick for how they make their laws. But that's, you know, again, we have a bunch of crooked politicians, right? And a bunch of uneducated people, right? Because we all go to their schools from start to finish. We go to kindergarten, them. First grade, them. Second, third, fourth, fifth. What you got, King?
No, I was just gonna say, hey, that sounds like a kingdom divided against itself to me. And that sounds like a whole bunch of confusion.
Straight down the middle. And they expect us to get caught up in this confusion and not know, just like the brother Anio just said. So what's the use of having the state, you know? Like, what's the use? I'll tell you what's the use. It's for confusion. That's why this place is called Babylon.
We gotta bring that precept out though real quick. Corinthians.
Bring it out.
This 1 Corinthians chapter 14, verse 33. It says, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches of the saints." So like you saying, like that's confusion. So in some states, you know, they legalize some stuff, but in other states you can't do certain things, you know, that you can in certain states. And then you got state laws that's different from federal laws, but they all supposed to be the same government. That's confusion because the Most High laws, it don't matter what state you in. It don't matter what part of the world you in, right? His laws say what it say, and you gotta abide by it no matter what, right? If the Lord say, if a man lay with another man, they shall surely be put to death. That apply no matter what state you in, or what part of the world or country you in, right? So, all this, American government, man, it's just confusion.
God, more reason why this place needs to be burnt to the ground. Right? Now, for the next slide, we're going to start talking about case law, okay, and its importance. Now, what is case law? Okay, because case law is important, and I'll show you why. Case law is a collection of court decisions that form the body of law in a jurisdiction and are used to guide judges in deciding cases. Case law is also known as common law or precedent, right? Case law sets the precedent for the way that the legal system is going to go. And I'll give you some examples of it. One example, Roe v. Wade, right? I know y'all brothers been hearing about Roe v. Wade and Roe v. Wade this and Roe v. Wade that. I know it's a big political talking point on both sides, right? But what Roe v. Wade did was it legalized abortion in the United States. And it was done in 1973, right? The Supreme Court literally legalized abortion in the United States then. Right? They said that it's a woman's right to have an abortion, right? And that it was protected by the 14th Amendment that we just went over, which was talking about the right to privacy, right? But recently, around Trump's era in the White House, one of his Supreme Court judges, along with a few other ones, they knocked it down, right? So it used to be abortion used to be legalized, but now it's not legalized, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. So they, but here's the thing is that whatever the Supreme Court says, that is what goes, right? It's like if we went to the Most High and asked him, does he want our Sabbath to be on this day or on this day, right? And if he says the seventh day, that's when our Sabbath is going to be, right? And it can't be changed. That's what he wants to do, right? If he decides he wants to change his mind, then he will. But as of right now, that's what stands, right? Just like homosexuality. Homosexuality is bad in his book. Therefore, it's going to be bad in everything else that we do as people.
Hey, Salaki, that's another good point though. That go into that what's that, Malachi 3 and 6. You still there?
Yeah, con. That's a big con right there, sis. That's like Christians quoting Paul over Yahweh Shai. That's nuts.
That's that Malachi 3 and 6 where he said, I am the Lord, I change not. You see that?
Absolutely. Right. Even Christ says the same thing. He says that in Hebrews. He says he doesn't change. So, but the fact of legalized abortions is against the Most High anyway. But again, this is more of a reason why this place needs to be burnt to the ground, right? They're saying it's okay to unalive your child, right? Another one is Brown versus the Board of Education, BOE, Board of Education, and that ended segregation. The Supreme Court ruled that segregation needed to be ended. Now, why, right? And the reason being is because the how can I so essentially what they were trying to do, and I think this also goes back to the first lesson, but the white schools were being taken much better care of than the so-called black schools, right? The black schools were underfunded, right? The black schools were treated like garbage, right? But that's like how everything they do with us. They treat us and our stuff like trash, and they uplift and exalt their stuff, right? So they were pissed when they had to end segregation and they had to have adjoining schools, right? This was around the time where, segregation was most heaviest, right? They had separate water fountains, right? Everything was separated, right? They said you couldn't come into a white establishment, right? So this right here, what it did was it did a universal ending of segregation. So not only in the Board of Education, but everywhere else, right? They didn't have a choice. Yeah. Oh man. Oh, that's a big one right there. Man. So we're gonna get on to this next section, and this one is about to spin some heads. Yeah. We're gonna start talking about your name and why it's so important. And this is all gonna tie in. Let me break it down, and then I'm going to tie it all in together and show without a shadow of a doubt that this place needs to be melted. Okay. Now, what I want anybody to do, if you look at your ID cards, right? This is another section, okay? If you look at your ID cards, right? If you look at your credit cards, if you look at your Costco card, if you look at your bank card, your BJ's card, any card that you have that's been given to you from the oppressor is always going to have one similarity. If you look at your name, you're going to see that your name has been capitalized. But if we go to the English language says that capitalization is only for a few reasons, right? And it isn't to show a person. Let's see if I pull this up real quick, Salakia. Stop this. And if you want, you can go grab one of your ID cards, right? You can grab, anything that you own, a bill, anything that you can think of that has been sent to you or that has been given to you. Okay. Now, whenever you capitalize something, and this is going into basic English, right? You only capitalize the first letter, and then you spell out the rest of your name with lower caps. Here's how wicked this devil is, and I'm going to show you. When he puts your name in all capitalized letters, he's trying to say something, right? That it's a proper noun, right? You capitalize the names, places, organizations, or things. All right, let me show you another one. another reason why people capitalize things. Right? Whenever you capitalize things, you usually capitalize things as company names, organization names, or geographic areas. Okay? Now that's for a reason. Anything that you own, you look at it, your name is going to be in capitals. Okay? And that's for a reason. And I'm going to show you. The reason that your name is capitalized on anything that you have that's been given to you is because they have turned you into a business. Did that make sense? It probably does, huh?
Yeah, can you explain?
Okay, come. So what they did when you were born, and I'm gonna, show some more about this, but when you were born, because your parents didn't know any better, because this constant revolving cycle of government intrusion and them, dealing with everything, they made a contract with your parents, right? And essentially what they did was they made you, as well as them also, wards of the state. So in order for them to deal with you, they've turned your name into a business, right? And I'm going to go into it, but it's called a legal fiction, right? It's kind of like you know how like when we talk about Israelites, right? And how we have, the Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom. Every Jew is an Israelite, but not every Israelite is a Jew. Okay? They've taken our names and they've turned them into businesses, right? So the way that they deal with us in every manner is they deal with us through businesses, okay? And what they've made us is they've made us the surety or the guarantee that you will continue in business, right? I know that's confusing right now, but I'm gonna explain it, okay?
Salakia. And that all ties in with your like your social security and taxes and stuff like that, right?
Yes. When they give you your social security number, right, they give you 9 digits, right? But on the back of your social security number, they have control numbers, right? When they give you your birth certificate, even your birth certificate has all capital letters, right? The only time that you put something in capital letters is if you're talking about a place, a business, or a thing. And they've turned us all into dead things, right? You look at your social security number or your social security card, your name is going to be in all capitalized letters, okay? Now, what they've done is they've used, it's kind of hard to explain. Anyway, they've turned your name into a business, okay? And it'll make sense when I start explaining how they deal with you, right? Because a lot of this language that they deal with matters, okay? Now this is going to be a little confusing, but I'm hoping it's not. But in the legal system, actually, Salakia. So back to that analogy that I was bringing up about the Israelites, like every Jew is an Israelite, but not every Israelite is a Jew, okay? But they're all Israelites. The same thing with the law. It may be lawful, it may be legal, but it's not lawful, right? But if it's lawful, then it's okay, right? So everything that they do that's legal right? Every legal precedent that they try to set isn't always lawful, right? And the way that they catch us is through what they called and what they created called legalese, okay? It's a formal and technical language of legal documents that is often hard to understand, kind of like Paul's writings, right? So many people are obliterated by Paul's writings, right? Because they don't understand them. They're hard to understand, just like Peter said, okay? It's specialized language of the legal professional or the lawyers. And what I'll do is I'll demonstrate this sorcery, okay? Because that's exactly what it is. Let me explain this. Legalese, also known as legal English. It's not regular English, and I'm going to show you in the next slide. It's legal English, right? It's a specialized language that's used in law, and it's used in communications by lawyers, judges, and all the legal professionals, right? It's known for being difficult to the general public to understand. Legalese is meant to be precise so that legal procedures, obligations, and rights are clearly defined. However, some say that legalese persists because legal professionals believe it makes their job more prestigious, it impresses their clients, and protects the demand for legal services. Now, I'm going to put on the video, and hopefully it'll be able to clear some kind of confusion. Let's see what we got here. Can you all hear that? You can hear it now? Damn.
Yeah, we're sharing again with audio.
Here's what I'll do. I'll pull it up on the YouTubers. And, you know, hopefully this will answer the question that I'm sure you all have. But, I mean, if you think about it, why is it that all of our IDs, all of our documents don't have our name in proper English? Right? Like, nobody ever thinks about this, but it's in plain sight for all of us to see. You know what I'm saying? Where is that? Here it is. Okay, I know y'all gonna see this. So what they've done, actually, and this you know, this helps out a lot. This helps out a lot to understand. Can y'all see that?
Oh, we can see it.
Gone.
Ah, the government. It loves you and wants to keep you safe and well. It even wants to make paying taxes, fines, and court costs easier for you. How? Well, you'll need to meet your straw man. He was born the same day you were.
And this is sort of what I'm talking about. What they did was they made your name in all caps into a business, and they made what's called a straw man. Okay, I'm sure we've all heard the straw man argument, right? Well, this right here is a literal straw man that they've created in your likeness.
He looks like you, has the same name, and lives in your house, but you never knew he existed. You will have even paid his parking tickets or taxes. The worst part? He's been dead from day one. From every birth certificate, a legal personality, or legal fiction, is created with the same name to confuse little old you into thinking it's you. So there is a human you and a paper you, or as it's commonly known, a straw man. So when it seems like government officials, court clerks, or the police are speaking English, they aren't. They're speaking legalese, designed to make you agree to verbal and written contracts without even knowing about it, all spun from Black's Law Dictionary.
Now, what she's talking about right here, that law dictionary that she's talking about, the Black's Law Dictionary, that's one of the, like, according to the law industry, that's one of the most prestigious, dictionary or law dictionary that the legal system uses. Okay.
For example, when the police say, "Do you understand?" you'll say, "Yes." What they are really saying is, "Do you stand under our authority?" Oops-a-daisy, you just created a verbal contract with them. Oh, you clever government. Did you know that whenever you register something, you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super. Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government...
And this is what we do, right? Like, for example, the vehicle that she's talking about, what do we got to do? We got to fill out a registration for our vehicle, right? And on top of that registration, now, because we register our vehicle with the state, now we have to get insurance. Now we have to get annual inspections. Now we got to jump through all the hoops that they lay out for us, right? Because what we're doing, when you register something, you're giving them ownership, right? That's like, if I have a water bottle and Yashawan wants to use my water bottle, he's going to register with me that he wants to use my water bottle. Okay, cool. But now you're going to use my water bottle, but I have a couple of stipulations. Like, you can't put soda in it. You can't put alcohol in it. You can't lay it on the ground. So he has to follow these rules that I laid out for him because it belongs to me, because he registered it with because it's registered with me. Let me keep playing. It sounds kind of confusing, but when you understand the premise behind it, it'll make sense.
Kanye, yeah, I see what you're saying.
You see what I'm saying? Right? Like, we register it with the state. So therefore, because we voluntarily registered it with the state, now we have to follow their rules.
Straw man's taxes. Something you are handing over title to the person you register it with? That's right. Whenever you register something with the government, they assume it belongs to them. Registered your car? Super. Now you are the registered keeper of your vehicle, and the government can crush it when you don't pay your straw man's taxes. Expecting a new bundle of joy? Well, then you need to register your little darling with a birth certificate. Then they can start the process all over again and create a new straw man for your little one. Isn't that great? So when Junior grows up, he'll be able to generate revenue just like you have. When you notify...
And if you think about it, all we do is generate revenue for who? For our oppressor, right? We work just to pay taxes, just to pay rent, just to buy food, just to buy clothes. We do all of this just to pay them and keep them rich. You know what I mean?
on your baby by signing the birth certificate, your child becomes a ward of state. And if the government doesn't like what you're doing, they'll assume it's okay to take the child away or make new rules for things they don't like. Not enough school? Smacking your child? Shouting too loudly? Then it's off to social services for the little one. When you get a bill, it's sent to you but belongs to your straw man, not you. That's why bills, fines, and summons start with Mr., Mrs., or Ms. Sometimes you'll see your surname in capitals, just like on a gravestone. That's because your straw man is dead and just a silly piece of paper, created before you could comprehend or even consent to it. When you go to court, you represent your straw man. So you, the human, take on any costs, fees, taxes, and fines involved for the straw man. The human you doesn't even need to pay them. But you may...
Right. And like the sister said, the laws that they, right? So we've registered our kids with them, right? And in turn, they give us a birth certificate. They give us a social security card, right? And these are the things that they use to keep us in check, right? So now if we beat our kids, right? If we don't spare that rod and spoil that child, right? Now they say you can't beat your kids. So now we're coming to take your kids. And what exactly are we going to do about it? They have a military, they have police officers out the yin yang, right? They have officials all over the place. And what can we do, right?
Made a contract with the court by appearing on behalf of your legal personality or straw man, just like the government knew you would. Confused? Well, don't worry. The government doesn't want you to know anyway. If you knew, you'd stop paying things like council tax and parking tickets. Because when you go to court, you are representing your straw man. You are you, alive and made of flesh and blood. Your straw man or legal personality is a piece of paper created from your birth certificate. And you think it's you. What a silly Billy. Would you like to know more? Well, then go over to TPUC.
So, back to that whole, back to the ID issue. When they give you an ID, it's because you've done what? You've registered with them, right? So because, yes, okay. So let me get it back there. So when we, do things with them, like get a social security number, get a birth certificate, get a license, get an ID card, get a bank card, we're getting things from them, right? They treat us as if we are, like the video said, wards of the state or children who don't know how to take hold of their legal matters, right? So they treat us like children and they give us everything. So in turn, because they create this legal entity for us, they turn us into a slave, a modern day slave. Okay. Whenever we go to court, we get railroaded at court. How many times have one of our brothers and sisters gone into court and said that they were not guilty or that they didn't do the crime, but yet they get the time, right? It is because they have what's called the action verb, right? Like, how the Most High, he can only judge us by our actions, or he judges us by our actions. Right? We move closer to him, he moves closer to us. The same thing with this. If we're acting like right? Like if we register a car, we are performing the act of someone who can't take responsibility, right? So therefore, we're registering the car. It becomes their property. Therefore, we have to follow their rules, right? So again, they get us by this legalese, and I'm going to show you how. Skip over that. No, we're going to skip over that. Now we're going to do a comparison on words, okay? In legalese, a person, right, is every individual, firm, partnership, association, corporation, that's the key word right there, governmental agency, or combination thereof, whatsoever form or character. In regular English, a person only means a human or an individual. Let's keep going. An obligation in legalese means an obligation is a legal transaction where a person or entity is required to perform a duty or action in favor of another person or entity. The obligee has the right to enforce the obligor's duty in court and recover damages. It's a binding contract, right? So back to the example of registering a car, right? Because you register the car, a part of that contract is now you have to upkeep the car, right? You have to do the yearly inspections. You have to get registration on it, right? And if you don't do these things, they can do what? They can take you to court. They can take your car. They can take your livelihood. Let's keep going. An obligation in Webster's dictionary is the action of obligating oneself to a course of action, right? Am I going to go to that party? Am I going to give him my water bottle, right? Am I going to lend him my car? Stuff like that. Easy. The legal fiction are often used to apply a rule in a different way than its original purpose. That goes back to that loophole that the sister was bringing out earlier, right? While keeping the letter of the law unchanged. For example, a court might use a legal fiction to make someone come to court by saying they're suing their property instead of them personally. A legal fiction in Webster's dictionary says an assertion accepted as true, though probably fictitious, to achieve a particular goal in a legal matter. And their goal in creating a legal fiction for you is to have you running around like a puppet, right? They're pulling the strings and they're making you do things. Go back to the registering the car. Now they're going to pull the string and you have to re-register it every year. They're going to pull the middle string and now you have to redo the inspection every year, right? Let's keep going. Color of law. And this is how they do what they do, because everything that they do is under what's called the color of law. Now let's look at the legal definition of color of law. It's the appearance of legal authority or rights that may not exist. Let's look at Webster's definition of color of law. The word you've entered isn't in the dictionary. Click on spelling suggestion below or try again using the search bar above. This word, color of law, is not in Webster's dictionary. This word isn't an English word. This word is a legalese word, meaning it's only valid in the legal playing field, so to speak. Am I making sense, or am I just causing more confusion?
Khan, that makes sense.
Following you.
Okay, good. Let's see, look down here because I had something I wanted to. Now I want to So I have one of those Black's Law Dictionary. Okay. The one that I have is called. Let me see if I can pull it up on the thing. It's called Black's Law Dictionary, but it's the 11th edition. Okay. They've been doing this for a while, so the one that I have is the 11th edition, but I'm gonna bring up later the 4th edition because they've been doing this, like I said, for a very long time. But there's one thing I want to read to you about legal fiction. Okay, you'll find this definition of legal fiction in the Black's Law Dictionary, but you won't find it in the Webster's Dictionary. Okay, so I'm going to read it here. It's legal fiction. It says an assumption that something is true, even though it may be untrue. Okay, so when they create this legal fiction, they are literally lying to us. But because we appear to be that legal fiction because it has the same name, the same numbers that we do what they want us to do to act as that legal fiction. Okay, I'm going to keep reading. It says, made especially in judicial reasoning to alter how a legal rule operates. And I'm going to provide more example. I'm going to read actually, let me read this. Okay, here we go. I'm going to read a quote from Morris Cohen, obviously in Ish, right? He wrote this in Law and Social Order, issue number 126 in 1933. Okay. He says, a legal fiction is the mask that progress must wear to pass the faithful but blear-eyed watchers of our ancient legal treasures. But though legal fictions are useful in thus mitigating or absorbing the shock of innovation, they work havoc in the form of intellectual confusion, right? They've done this on purpose to purposely confuse us with what's going on in the world, okay? I'm gonna read, let's read a different quote. This is by Henry Maine, Ancient Law, 17th edition, from 1901. He says, I employ the expression legal fiction to signify any assumption which conceals or affects to conceal the fact that a rule of law, an actual rule, right, has undergone alteration, its letter remaining unchanged, but its operation is modified. So it's a legalese is literally lying for lawyers. They are literally lying to your face. And because we don't understand legalese, they get away with it 12 times out of 10. I'm going to keep going. Damn. Here's another example. In legalese, the word for appearance, right? It means a party enters an appearance when they show up to court in response to a service of process. Appearance isn't only a reference to physical presence in court when required, but it also is also to procedural compliance, right? In order to go to court, people don't understand that you have to fill out paperwork before you go to court, right? And that paperwork, there was a saying when I used to study the law, exclusively, there was a saying that your paperwork precedes you, right? Whatever you put in your paperwork is supposed to come before you get to the courtroom, right? But they don't tell us that. They give us the ticket and then they tell us, show up at this day on this time and you can tell it to the judge. But they never tell you that you have to fill out defensive paperwork, right? That you have to plead your case on paper before you even show up to the court, right? So appearance in Webster's dictionary just means an external show, right? So legalese is literally meant to confuse us as people, okay? Now, hopefully this should help show why their legalese is so effective. Okay, this is talking about driver's licenses and their courts. Notice I said their courts, okay? And I'll explain why. Fake, 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 fake. Okay? What the driver's license department, or what their courts are, they're called administrative tribunals. Okay? An administrative tribunal is a legal body that is independent of the government and makes decisions on administrative law and government decisions. Okay? This definition right here, it says an administrative tribunal, which would be a traffic court, right, is a specialized legal body that is not part of the court system. Let that turd nugget sink in, right? But is created by the government to make decisions on administrative law and government decisions, okay? So when they give you that ticket for driving 10 miles over the limit, they're not sending you to a federal court, which is what they're supposed to do. They're sending you to one of their administrative tribunals, and they call it a court. All right? Let's go down to characteristics. It says an administrative tribunal are less formal, less expensive, and faster than the court system, right? When we went back to that Constitution and it talks about we have the right to a speedy trial, this is what it's talking about. It's saying we're not going to send you to a government court. We're not going to send you to a federal court where you should be going. We're going to send you to an administrative tribunal or an agency. That's what they're doing. All of these administrative tribunal courts are nothing but agencies. Okay? The driver's license system is a huge money maker that produces billions upon billions of dollars for the states. And in turn, the states give that money to the government, right? So when Aniel asked me earlier, what's the difference? Here's one of the biggest differences, is that in state court, they can lie to you and they don't have to say a damn thing about it, right? The driver's license that they make us do, It's not lawful. It's not lawful at all, right? Because last time I checked on one of those constitutional articles and amendments, it said that we have liberty. We're supposed to have free liberty and the right to everything, to our property, right? To life, liberty, and happiness. But we're in the exact opposite. We're not in that life, liberty, and happiness. We are slaves to a system that we do not understand, right? So when Abraham Lincoln supposedly freed the slaves, he didn't free a damn thing. All he did was turn the free slaves into modern slaves. That's all he did. Just like we preach on the street, they took off the chain and they let us roam free, knowing that we're not gonna shy away from them, that we're not gonna run the other way, right? This is what the government has done to us. This is what Abraham Lincoln was pushed to do to us, right? But I don't want to say it and not prove it, right? The Lord says, prove all things, and I want to prove it, right? Let's go to, remember I was telling you about case law, right? And the importance of case law and how case law can mold any kind of legal establishment like that. Let's find out. This is one of the case laws. It's called Chicago Motor Coach versus the state of Chicago, right? This happened, I want to say in the 60s, I forget. But this is the precedent that the federal government or the Supreme Court established. They established that the use of the highways for the purpose of travel and transportation is not a mere privilege, but a common and fundamental right of which the public and the individual cannot be rightfully deprived, right? Let's keep going. Miller versus the U.S. The claim and exercise of a constitutional right cannot be converted into a crime. So if I don't want to get that license, I don't have to. But the state will tell you that you have to. But this right here is federal Supreme Court law that says that you can't do that. Let's keep going. Hale versus Henkel from 1906. Now, mind you, a lot of these case laws that I'm going to be bringing up are very old. But because they were already established by the Supreme Court, until the Supreme Court decides to overturn them, they're not going nowhere. And all of these case laws that I'm bringing out haven't gone anywhere, okay? We are of the opinion that there's a clear distinction between an individual and a corporation, okay? And that's what they turned us into. Because they turned our name into a corporation, they expect us to follow laws like you need a driver's license, you need to register your car, you need to pay this ticket. But that's not what we're supposed to do, because an individual, like it says here, is not the same thing as a corporation. The individual may stand upon his constitutional rights as a citizen. He is entitled to carry on his private business in his own way. His powers to contract is unlimited. He owes no duty to the state. He owes no such duty to the state, since he receives nothing therefrom beyond the protection of his life and property. His rights are such as existed by the law of the land. Okay, this one's really long. And can only be taken from him by due process of the law. Now, you're going to be seeing that a lot when it talks about the due process. What it's talking about, due process is when they send you a verified complaint, bring you to an actual court, an actual federal court, and they set you up with a jury of your peers. Okay, I brought that out earlier, that you have to be with the speedy trial in front of a jury of your peers. Okay, do they do that in traffic court? I'm asking y'all, brothers.
Do they do that in traffic court?
Yeah. Do they put you in front of a jury of 10 to 12 jurors? Hell no. They don't do that. They give you that speedy trial that you don't understand, and therefore the judge, now mind you, that same judge gets paid by the state that he's working for, and he's ruling against you. That's called a conflict of interest. That's like if me and another brother get into a spat and I have my sister be the judge. You know she's going to be siding with me, right? Or a friend of mine is going to be siding with me over that person or that that stranger.
Con.
Right? That's the same thing with this legal system. They are going through what's called a serious conflict of interest. Okay, let's keep going. Hurtado versus California says that the state cannot diminish rights of the people. Due process of law is process of law according to the law of the land. And the law of the land is the U.S. Constitution. Keep going. Murdoch versus Pennsylvania says that the state may not convert a secured liberty into a privilege and issue a license and a fee for it. Do you have to get a license to use your hairdryer? How about a license to run your lawnmower?
Hell no.
But you can jump on that sucker and ride it down the block, right? But what this just said is that they can't do that, and this is what the state has been doing when they institute driver's license programs, when they institute, all these different programs that take our rights as people away, right? This is from the Supreme Court. They said that the state may not convert a liberty into a privilege. When you turn something into a privilege, that privilege can be taken away. They can't do that. Let's keep going. Shuttlesworth versus Birmingham. If the state does convert your right into a privilege and issue a license and charge a fee for it, because don't they charge a fee for that license? You go wait on that long ass DMV line for what? So that you can pay a license fee, you can pay this, you can pay that, all the taxes up front. Well, the law says that if if they convert your right into a privilege and issue a license and charge a fee for it, you can ignore the license and fee and engage in the right with impunity. If you don't need a license to operate that lawnmower, if you don't need a license to sit on your couch, why do you need a license for a vehicle that you own, right? Or that you're making payments on with a bank, right? Salakia, long-winded over here, but let's keep going. I'm gonna try and wrap this up. The right of a citizen to travel is not a mere privilege, but a common right which he has under the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. All right, let's keep going. No public policy of a state can be allowed to overwrite the positive guarantees of the U.S. Constitution. Okay. So what's happening? What's happening is that these police that pull you over, what's the first thing that they say to you? License and registration. They don't say hello. They don't say what's up. License and registration. Well, what did I do? License and registration. That's what they keep doing. Now, what's happening is they're creating a contract with you because they are taking you as a corporation, right? Or as a legal fiction of, which are all caps, right? They're treating you like a business. And what businesses do with other businesses, they create contracts, right? If I need corn from Shapar, I'm gonna make a contract with Shapar that says I need this amount of corn on this day, and you'll tell me this is how much I pay, and that is officially a contract. When they ask you for your license and registration, they are creating a verbal contract with you. And when you hand it over to them, you are entering into that contract with them, right? But they've dumbed down this society so much. They've dumbed down our people so much that our people ain't even thinking about this. They're not thinking about that. If they walk into a store, they're starting a contract with that store, right? They're not thinking about these things. They're not thinking that if I give my ID to this gentleman right here because he asked for it, that he's starting a contract with me. They're not thinking about that. But this is what happens every time you get pulled over by the police. Every time a police officer asks for your ID, right? All the police are code enforcers. Right? They're supposed to be protecting the people. You know who the people are? The government. That's who the people are. The people ain't us. We're just slaves to their kingdom. This goes into another, it's a smack in the face slavery system, and it's child support. Right? Child support and their family courts. This is yet another administrative tribunal, right? Child support actually is an independent private agency owned. It's literally another corporation, right? And I'm gonna show you right in the law. Again, I'm not proving anything. I'm not saying anything. I'm going to prove it with scripture. With scripture or with proof. Right? Child support in itself also is just another administrative agency that is created. And you can find it here in the U.S. Code, Title 42, Chapter 7, Subchapter 4, on Part D. It's a 4D agency. And look at that number right there. That's the code that they use to talk about child support. That magical number called 666. Okay? That's where you'll find child support enforcement stuff. That's where you'll find child support agency stuff. But to prove that this is a separate organization, let's go to the Code of Federal Regulations that I was talking about before, the CFR. Okay, we're going to go right here to the Code of Federal Regulations, the CFR. Can y'all see that? Let me see.
Oh, okay.
Okay, come on. See? 45 CFR 302.12, right? So I think they have maybe like 1,600 laws or something like that. But if you dig through this, you'll find this. But it says a single and separate organizational unit, okay? The state plan, again, back to the state plan shall provide for the establishment or designation of a single and separate organizational unit or another business to administer the IV, well, we call it the IVD plan, but the IV4 agency, okay? It's single and separate. What's happening with child support is they're making contracts with the women, right? Because that's mostly who's in the child support offices are the women, right? Because they've warped our minds so much that we don't know how to be men, right? We don't know how to take care of our families. We don't know how to deal with our women, right? Because they've beat us down to the very core, and we don't know anything other than the stuff that they teach us or the stuff that we want to learn, right? But child support is essentially a single and separate organizational unit. And they are responsible and accountable for the operation of the 4D program. Okay? They deal with everything from ordering the, paternity test to going state to state to state to state looking for the father, right, or the mother, right? They establish all of this stuff. You see it right here? The Office of Child Support Services. They are a Title 4D agency. They are a corporation. You know how much money these bastards make? In 2019, they made about $65 billion. You know how much they gave back to the government? About $61 billion. So where's all that money going back to? It's going to them, right? So when you go to their courts, you're going to one of their agency courts. Stop sharing this. You're going to one of their state employed courts, right? Let's go back to this slide here. So, like I said, the Child Support Agency is an independent private organization, okay? And what happens is that they made an agreement with the government and said to the government, we'll track down, we'll do all the dirty work. They're like bounty hunters, right? What do bounty hunters do? Bounty hunters go and search for the criminal that just skipped bail, right? If you got out on bail, which is another thing that's not lawful, but it's legal, but it's not lawful. So you get out on bail and they give you a court date, and if you don't show up to that court date, they're going to send a bounty hunter after your ass. And that bounty hunter will search you down wherever you're at. He will arrest you and bring you to court. And then you got to pay all that money back that you just spent on bail. Let's see where we at. So what they do is the child support agencies will make contracts with the mother or the father, but it's not like the numbers of men collecting child support over women is astronomically off. It's like 2%. And then the rest of it is all women. But what they do is they make the contract with the mother, and then legally they come after you and they put you in an invisible contract, right? They invite you to court. That's what they do, right? They invite you to court with words such as, you must appear, right? You must show up, right? If you don't show up, They threaten you with what? They threaten you with a suspended license, or they'll threaten you by taking something away from you or putting a bench warrant out for your arrest. That's called being coercive, and just straight devious, right? Oh man. Now I did have. I think I'm winded already. Let me put this on the slide here, so we could take slides. Actually, put this up real quick, and I'm about done. I just want to show you this one quick.
Hey, we can always bring it out for part 6.
Damn. I'm done after this. La to the eye. Yeah, I'm done after this. I promise I'm done. Okay, here we go. Alright. Let's see. Share.
Got another good one for you. Child support was declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Supreme Court decisions are a judge's Achilles heel. It is their death knell. When you find Supreme Court decisions supporting your case, it's a wrap. Okay, let me read it to you. It's delicious. Okay. Child support was declared unconstitutional in a Minnesota Supreme Court.
And this is a Judite princess, right? She used to be a lawyer, and she found out the wickedness behind the system, and she was like, "Yeah, I'm good. I don't want nothing to do with this." And she left. She did the honorable thing, and she left the wicked system. If only we could turn this sister into an Israelite.
Court ruling for violating the separation of powers required by the Minnesota Constitution in Article 3, Section 1. Further, child support agencies' actions are also unconstitutional due to lack of probable cause. You don't even have to find case law. Just quote everything that I just said.
Yeah, don't listen to what she said. You have to study this thing. You have to know what you're going into, because, like, these judges have been, obviously the gig is up, and Jacob is waking up, right? And he's finding out all of these things, right? But what she's talking about, when she talks about separation of powers, that goes back to that first slide that I was sharing with you brothers, right? Where it shows the 3 different structures of the government, right? They have the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And they all have what's called a separation of powers doctrine, which says that the judicial can't do what the legislative does. And the the judicial has to stay in the judicial. They can't do the executive or the legislative. And the executive can't do what the judicial and the legislative do. But now here's the kicker. Because this agency is under the executive branch, they've been putting people in jail. A lot of our brothers are in prison, are in jail because of child support, right? That is unlawful. It may be legal to them, but it's not even legal. It's illegal, right? It's unconstitutional because it breaks that separation of powers. The executive branch is only there for the president, the vice president, and to put laws on paper, right? They're not meant to lock people up, but this child support separate agency is under the executive branch, right? So what she's talking about is that separation of powers doctrine, which shouldn't be happening. The same thing with the police department. The police department is under the executive branch, but yet they arrest brothers and sisters. They shoot them in the face. They kill them in the parks. Why? Because Esau is a wicked goddamn devil. And that's all I got for the evening. Y'all brothers got anything for me? You got anything for the people?
No, all praise to the Most High. Good. A lot of information tonight.
Con, the water. That's definitely all I got. I'm done. Whew. Yeah, there's a lot more that, like, we could have. Can you hear me? Okay. We could have about a 6-hour class off of just the legalities and the lawfulness of the driver's license or the child support agencies. It's insane.
It's how serious that is.
It is. It's literally that serious, right? So when you ask me the question, what's the difference between the federal and the state? Here are two huge differences. One, they're a bunch of goddamn liars. And two, they still the devil the Bible speaks about. Oh, all right, Israel, I'm out. I appreciate y'all for staying around. I appreciate y'all brothers for being patient and bringing out precepts. If y'all got any precepts, by all means, hey, Kwame Yasha. You got anything, Cap?
Nah, that was good, man. Another mighty lesson. Another well put together slideshow. Hey, we gonna keep going on with it, man. Hey, next time we gotta do another one. Keep going. But nah, we just want to give all praises, honor, and glory to the Most High, man. All praises.
All right. Well, there you have it. Cap said so. Hey, Shalom Yashala. Hey, tune in next week. We'll have another mighty lesson ready for y'all. Hey, we love you. Hey, Yashala.
Hey, Salakia. Oh yeah. Hey, this a little pre-clip for next week, man. Lord willing, I'm gonna be going into the wars and stuff going on in Israel, and going into some of the history of that land, going into the Balfour Declaration and stuff like that, right? So, hey, if you want to come check us out next week for Wars on Wednesday, man, please tune in.
Con. Hey, and I still got some of those videos that I was using before. But hey, Shalom Yashala. Love you. All praise to the Most High.
Shalom.